welcome to the Ninja Babes podcast. What's up? My name is Cara Mack, and I'm back for another episode. Today we are here with Emerson Muise. So Emerson, what's up? Welcome.
Hey, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, it's so good to have you. I was so excited to talk to you on the phone and get to know you kind of through Instagram and just talking over the phone. So it's awesome to see you and meet you kind of in person-ish. So yeah. Welcome. So Emerson, today I'm super pumped to get into your story. We'll give you a little bit of an intro and learn more about who you are as a ninja competitor and as an A&W junior competitor. But I'm really excited to get into your story today. As a lot of people know, this fall we've been focusing on a lot of episodes that are very topic focused, and so meaning that we're talking about not just a person and their life, but a specific topic with a reason and for something that we want to really teach or encourage the audience listening. So first we're going to just get into a little bit of your background, who you are, and then we'll jump into our topic for today. So Emerson, can you tell us just who are you, where you're from, and how did you get started in ninja?
So I got started in ninja by having my birthday party there when I was 11 at the gym that I now train at. I train at Squadron HQ and Traverse Fitness in Northern California, and I've been doing ninja consistently for about 2 years now.
Awesome. Yeah. And I love that it was at a birthday party because there's so many coaches out there listening who are like, those birthday parties can be a lot of work, but a lot of fun. But it's cool when people from the birthday parties actually stick around and want to become real ninjas, not just there for 2 hours running around, you know?
Yeah.
Cool. So how many seasons have you been involved with A&W Junior? And is that when you first got involved with ninja, did you right away want to be on junior, or how did that happen?
When I first got involved with ninja, junior wasn't a thing yet. So I think that my goal was I want to be on the adult show, and I think the age limit was 21 at the time. So I was I'm going to have to wait. I was 11, so I was I'm going to have to wait 10 years, but that gives me more time to train. But then when I found out that junior was a thing, I was even having 2 open gym experiences, I told my dad I wanted to submit for season 1, and he was that might not be the best idea. So then I didn't submit for season 1. And then I trained that whole year, and then I submitted for season 2, and then I didn't get picked. And then this time around, I was kind of debating on submitting or not. And then my coach convinced me to submit for season 3, and then I got picked.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, congrats.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Yeah, that's so awesome. I know it can be tough sometimes if you submit and you don't get picked and you really had your heart set on it, or whatever, and it's should I even do this again? But you did, and you made it, so cool.
Yeah, and it was my last year I could have submitted because it only goes up to 14, and I'm 14, so.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, when's your birthday?
November 6th, so it's kind of coming up, in a way.
It's coming up, yep. And by the time people listen to this episode, it'll be closer, so.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Cool, so what did you enjoy competing about on A&W Junior? What did you enjoy about the experience? And can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so of course, being on the actual course itself was really cool because, you train the obstacles in the gym, but you rarely ever get to be on the obstacles, on the show or on junior. Yeah. So, being over water and, doing the obstacles was really, really cool, and, being there with all the kids. And I think, my favorite part about it was, the people that I met and the friendships that I formed, because I think, it's we're all this is the next generation of ninjas, and I met them through the junior show, so it's kind of cool to think about that. And now getting to know people all over the country and wanting to travel to go see them or to go train at their gyms and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys are the next generation of ninja. It's really cool to see, and it's cool too to be on that cusp of junior now into the teen adult phase of it. Because I feel so excited for anyone who's getting into ninja at a younger age now, because the sport is growing and there's so much cool opportunity coming. So it's really cool. I think it's awesome. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think it's funny too what you said about being over water the first time, because it is so strange. You're wait, there's a pool there. What? It's just weird for a second.
If I fall, it's not a pad. It's water, and I'm gonna have to be wet after.
Yeah, it's should I still tuck and roll? Like, if I'm falling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just cannonball instead.
Yeah, right, exactly. When I fell in semifinals this year, the obstacle I fell on naturally twisted me, but I did like fall and land like on my back, and it was just like a really weird thing because for a second I was like, oh, this is cool, and like rolling into the water. But then I was like, am I even landing in the pool? I got like disoriented for a second, and I was like, where's the edge of the pool? And I got like freaked out. But
there were so many times during course practice, and even when I was on the course, I was like, am I gonna fall? Like if I get off center, am I gonna like go to the grass? Like I was like, don't go in the grass, fall in the water, please. If you're gonna fall, don't go off.
Right? Stay in water. I know, because in some of the earlier rounds, especially like on A&W Junior, I think it's kind of the same, and then for like qualifying and semifinals, the pools aren't like that wide. Like in Vegas, the pools are super huge. Mm-hmm. But in some of the other regions, like they're not that wide. I feel like you could kind of veer off, but everyone's safe.
Yeah, with Junior, it's like, since there's like the 2 lanes, they are like bigger. But then, like, you have to worry about, like, because, like, people can get thrown off. Like, you're not going to go onto the other person's side, but, like, you can get thrown off. So it's like, don't fall in the water, don't fall on the sidelines, and then don't hit the other person if you guys are in the water at the same time.
I wonder if anyone's ever collided on Junior. Like, if 2 ninjas kind of, like, came off at the same spot and were, like, going toward each other. Like, has that happened?
I know it didn't happen for me. Or I feel like the best person to ask would be like Najee, because I think he's mentored like either season 2 and season 3 or all 3 seasons. Huh. So he would know the most. I would want to ask him that. I'd be like, what's the craziest thing that's happened?
I will ask him that. I think that's I don't know. So on A&W Junior, do you have any other like favorite experiences before we kind of get more into who you are as a ninja and your personal story? Did you have any other like favorite experience from A&W Junior?
Meeting Jessielebreck was really cool, because I've watched her since her rookie season, and like I remember first seeing her and I was like, this woman's freaking cool. Like she's so good, and like I want to be like her. I want to do that. And, like, I had seen, like, Casey Catanzaro make it up the warp wall. I saw Megan before. And, like, I looked up to them a lot. But for some reason, when I saw Jessie, I was like, she's really cool. So then getting to meet her and, like, I've had her shirt for so long that I'm, like, I'm looking at the person who I have their shirt and, like, have been looking up to for so long. And then now she's, like, coaching me and, like, talking to me and stuff like that, which I have totally fangirled, but it's okay.
Awesome. Yeah, because Jess was one of the like coach mentors on the show this season, right?
Yes, it was just Jessie and Najee this year.
Super cool. Yeah, that's so fun. Mm-hmm. But it's like I got to be at the Junior filming, not this season, but I think that was season 2. And yeah, it's just like it's really cool. It feels like you're there competing, but like I think it's a cool experience for everyone to like get to meet different ninjas, like the mentors as well, like ninjas you might not necessarily have met because you're not competing with them, but like they're there.
Oh yeah.
So
and then like cool. All the coaches come out for whoever their kids are that are competing. So like I didn't just meet them, I met so many others, which was really cool too.
Oh, that's so true. Yeah, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. So do you think that next year, do you think you'll want to apply for the adult show, or how is that going to work?
Oh, wow. That would be probably like dream come true, best moment of my life if I competed on American Ninja Warrior. I would love to
hear that, A&W. Do you hear that, producers? I'm just kidding.
But like, yeah, I think I don't really know how it's working, if it's like applying or if it's getting picked, because I know like kids were asked to apply, like the teens were asked to apply. Mm-hmm. I'd love to be asked to apply, but I think I would really like to have like, and I know a lot of ninjas say this, but I'd like to have like a comeback season, because I didn't really do as well as I wanted to on Junior. I wasn't in like a good like mental game state to where I could compete. With like sharing my story with everyone that I was everyone I was talking to, I would have to tell them, like they would be like, oh, what's food is fuel, like what is what does that mean? So like I was talking to everyone about it, and I think that got in my head, and I didn't know that it was going to get in my head in that way. So being on the adult show and only having it be between you and the obstacles, not you, the obstacles, and another person. I love side-by-side racing at some points, but then at some points it's like, so I'm like, I'd love to just like be between just me and the course and not having to worry about, like, of course you're like racing against the clock kind of thing, and like getting in the top 5 for women and getting in the top 30 to move on and so on and so forth. But yeah, I think that's like my biggest goal since I saw Casey get up the warp wall, and I was like 7. And I remember being at school, and I've had anxiety since I was really little. So I was like crying before I was going into school. And my mom said, if Casey Catanzaro can do it, so can you. And I walk my butt into school, which it's a sweet story. But like, it's like, that was one of my earliest memories of talking about American Ninja Warrior. So if I was able to like be on that course with the people like who have trained me for so long and like show them what I'm actually capable of, would be like, it would make it worth it for them, and it would make it worth it for me. And it's just an all-around amazing experience. Like, even being on Junior was incredible, so I'd be blessed to be picked for American Ninja Warrior at some point.
Yeah, I have so many things to say about that. I hear everything you're saying, like, from the, competing and having your story be like so much in your face and in like the forefront of what you're thinking about, that it's sometimes going to be hard to focus on what you're actually doing. I know that there's been other people on the show who they were there competing and their story was about something really tragic or like really hard that happened in their life, and now it's like they have to keep talking about this sad thing, and then they have to compete. And sometimes that works for some people to be like that, like fuel to just do it, and then for other people that could be really emotionally like hard to work through. So I get that. I totally see where that could come into play. And we will talk about your story today, but I think the other thing is like you do have so many more seasons to come, and even if I don't know how it's going to work this year with applications with the A&W, but even if you applied and didn't get picked, or you had to just see if you were selected and you weren't selected, like there's going to be other years. So I just want to encourage you with that, like don't get so hung up on this next season. Like, you're going to keep growing and getting stronger, so even if you don't get chosen this season, like, all right, focus on NNL, focus on whatever else you want to focus on. But don't let this next season deter you, depending on how it goes. But
oh yeah, definitely. That's kind of why I was like, well, if I get picked at some point, it's like I'm not too worried about when I get picked. I'll continue to train like I am going to get picked, and if I don't, I get to watch my friends and competitors compete, because usually you end up knowing someone who gets picked. So either way, it'll be fun. Yeah,
absolutely. And maybe you'll get to be on somebody's sideline, and then that's like so much fun, because it's like all the like rush of being there, but you don't have to do anything.
Yeah, that's like how it was for so many coaches. They were just like chilling, and then I'm like over here like, oh, get your head together.
Yeah. Get it together.
Get it together.
So why don't we change gears a little bit? I know, like, we just said how rough it can be sometimes to like rehash your whole story, but we're about to rehash your whole story, so
it's okay.
But right now is for the benefit of everyone listening, and I think this is going to be a really great episode, because I know, just as like a real quick plug, after this episode airs, wow, there's a hair on my microphone. Sorry, I'm gonna remove that. It was distracting. After this episode airs, we are having several more episodes coming up later this fall, talking about how do you have a healthy framework for eating and for training and working out and all this stuff. How do we have good body image? There's going to be a lot of episodes that are kind of like follow-up to your story with other professionals who are coming on the podcast. So I just want to put that out there and kind of tie that in with what we're going to talk about today, because your story is kind of going to be like a springboard for a lot of these other topics that we talk about later this fall. So
that's awesome. I'm excited for all those other ones too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, it's been really good. So why don't you just kind of explain your ninja name, Food is Fuel? Why did you choose that? And however you feel comfortable, just kind of like introducing your story. Why don't we just start there?
Okay. So my ninja name is Food is Fuel, because it's kind of my motto now. I also like how it's like food and then fuel. I like the two F's together. That's kind of how there was different options, but I went with food as fuel because for about a year, I struggled with an eating disorder, specifically anorexia. It was hard for me because I felt like I was so alone and that no one really understood what I was going through, even though that's so not true in every way possible. Like, so many people understand. It got to the point where it was hard for me to train because I had no energy, and my coaches and me both didn't understand why I wasn't able to do certain things when I had the strength to, even though I was losing strength as I was going through something like this. And I think one of my big pushes into the recovery process, which for me started in January of 2021, so it's more recently that it kind of started, but I really wanted to be able to train more ninja and like be able to do things and like feel accomplished. So I was like, if I'm gonna want to do this, then it's gonna have to happen. And I didn't want to live my life that way anymore. No one should have to live their life like that. So then I started that process of it, and then in February is when the A&W Junior announced that they were gonna have a new season. So then I was like, this is gonna push me even more if I'm able to, one, share my story, and two, get healthy enough to where I can compete. And then when I got the call, I was like, now I need to get that much more healthy to be able to compete because it's actually happening now. So it all ties together, and I think I have a lot to thank American Ninja Warrior Junior for, because I don't think I would be in the place where I can talk about it or just be healthy enough to continue to do ninja if I didn't have those big pushes, and I'm really thankful for that because some people don't have that. And I also had a support system through my gym. Like definitely my coach, Alan Keneally, he was on earlier seasons of American Ninja Warrior. And then my coach, Brittany Durant, who has been on seasons 12 and 13. She's been there for me since I started my recovery process, and it's just kind of been like, she'll check in with me about it and stuff like that. And she's the person who designed my shirt. I'm wearing it right now, you can barely tell, but
you can stand up and spin around, whatever.
Yeah. But yeah, so I've been lucky enough to have that, and I know some people don't have that, so I have a lot to thank Ninja and my gym for helping me through something so hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I really appreciate you just explaining and like sharing what you've been through, and like not more importantly, but like why you want to share it. So everyone's story has value and like it's shaped their life, like it's shaped what they're going through and who they are. And I think there's so much value in sharing it to help other people who either might be going through something similar or, have a friend who has, or just want to be able to understand what you're going through. So why do you feel it's important to explain kind of just what's happened and where you're at? Why do you feel like it's important to just explain that to the ninja community?
It's something that's so prominent in our society today, as we know, but yet it's not talked about enough. When you mention the term eating disorders to a person, usually they get bug-eyed and they're like, that's not what we talk about here. And I want to change that, and I want it to make it clear, especially to athletes, that you need to eat, you need to fuel your body, because you're not going to be able to do much of anything, do much ninja if you're not doing that. Yeah, I think basically just the fact that it's not talked about enough, and I want to change that in that way.
Yeah, I think that's incredible. So we'll get into a bunch more questions, but I just want to jump in and say that, yeah, I think there's like this fine line between, I feel like this is talked about a lot within ninja, where it's like, oh, being light is great in ninja. Like if you're a light ninja, like you can carry your body weight better, blah, blah, blah. But I know, because I in the past had struggles with like a disordered thinking about how I was eating and how I was fueling my own body. I know for me even that can be like, oh, I need to be lighter. Like maybe I need to really be careful about what I'm eating. Maybe blah, blah, blah. Like maybe I can cut somewhere and like I'll be lighter and then I'll do better on the course. But like there can be this like spin cycle of like what you're thinking that just kind of like spirals to a unhealthy place. And so I know today we're going to talk a little bit about like what is a trigger and like what does that look like for different people. But I think it's important, like we said, to talk about this because ninjas, coaches, like parents, people out there, we just need to realize like our language and what are we really pushing for. Like, sure, the concept of being a lighter ninja, like hypothetically, like in theory, yes, you'll be able to carry your body weight easier, but like, why are we just pushing for that? Why not push for like being strong and like learning how to eat well in a way that's like going to fuel us properly? And like, yeah, don't tell people to like eat a bunch of like garbage, pizza like constantly every day, all day or whatever. But like, I think there's like wisdom in reframing things of like just being healthy and how to focus on being healthy and strong versus like, what can we cut or what can we do to like be the most competitive? Like there can be a fine line between like where that's healthy and where that can be really like life altering in a bad way for somebody. So yeah. Could you explain a little bit more about what you think, what does it mean to like have a trigger and where that is something that we need to watch out for, or where sometimes I think even triggers can be like a weird buzzword that doesn't really hold a lot of weight for some people.
Yeah.
So do you want to explain?
Yeah, so I'm going to try to explain this the best that I was like, okay, wait, like, this is my definition of it, is when someone has a bad experience and someone or something says something, or you're in a place where it's bringing you back to that bad place. And for some people, it can cause relapses in any way possible, like if you were an alcoholic or if you had an eating disorder. Like, it goes along with that type of thing. And for me personally, like what triggers me is like anything talking about weight or food or body image in like a negative way. So if like someone says something or I hear someone talking about themselves in that way, sometimes it can bring me back to the place where that was me and I was that person. So then so you have to like figure out how to like collect yourself in that moment as well.
Yeah, so let's kind of like give some examples a little bit, not to like get too crazy into it, but just to help people understand. So, something that I hear all the time that doesn't have to do anything with ninja is just like, girls or guys, anyone, looking in the mirror and just being like, oh, I just always have like this extra, like whatever, I just want to like get rid of this. I wish I could just like erase it or whatever. And it's just like nitpicking at like parts of your body. I know for me in the past, that's been something that's been hard for me when I hear my friends or other people just like pinching weird places where there's fat or whatever and being like, oh, I wish this wasn't here. Because then it's like they're getting so obsessive or like really fixating on like something that's a part of your body that it's your body. Like this is what helps you like live and breathe and like be a person every single day. Like why are we getting so nitpicky about like this body that we should like love and care for? But on the triggering side, like that can cause, if I wanted to like really allow my brain to like go back to that like dark place, that could cause me to like look at my own body and be like, oh, well, is there something like that I should be concerned about? Like maybe I could like cut somehow or whatever. And like, yeah, so that's like a kind of general example, but is there anything that you wanted to bring up about in ninja that you feel like has been triggering for you or that you have heard other girls struggle with?
I don't know if this is necessary, like from what I remember, it's not necessarily a ninja, but like I think the YouTube workout videos that are targeted at certain places on your body are like super triggering because it makes you think that you need to change that part of your body when you really don't. I'm trying to think of anything that has happened in ninja. I think just being like lean is something that a lot of people talk about, is like you want to have muscle, but you don't want to have too much muscle. What too much muscle is, I don't really know, but people and ninjas want to be lean, and when you feel as though you're not lean, you start to think, what can I do to be lean? And a lot of people go into the place of like, oh, I can change what I'm eating, when most of the time for some people that's not going to help them. They need to like work out in a certain way. And like I'm a swimmer, so I've always had strong shoulders and broad shoulders, and since I was little, like when I was little I was super skinny, but then when I started doing sports again, I like developed muscle way easier, and I just genetically I can develop muscle way easier than some girls. So for me it was like, why do I have these muscles when everyone else seems to be super lean and like has strong arms but are just not like more muscular?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I think I hear that word a lot too in ninja, in the ninja world, about like being lean, or like what I was kind of referring to before about being like light. And yeah, like again, it's like, what does that really mean? And I think it's just like, how can we be constructive in what we're trying to like tell our, coaches telling our kids to do or whatever. Like, how can we focus on what's constructive versus like what does that even mean? Like, what makes sense? Because like you're saying, it makes me think of Angela Gargano. Like, she always tells a story about when she was in middle school, high school, like she always did gymnastics early on in life. And so as like a young kid, she always like was very muscular, and she would get picked on and say that she had man arms and all this stuff. And she was just, I'm laughing because she, like, the way she tells the story is funny, but like she would get picked on a lot, and like at that time it was so hurtful, and it just really caused her to almost be like ashamed of her own strength. And so then moving forward into adulthood, she realized like wow, like being strong is amazing, and like I have, like she would say, like, I have strong arms. That doesn't mean that I have man arms. I am a woman, I have woman arms, but like that strength and everything that I have is incredible, and it allows me to do ninja and to do these awesome like calisthenic moves and whatever. And so yeah, I mean, that was kind of a tangent, but like the point of like, we just have to be like aware of how we're like talking to other people like about their own bodies, or like about what they need or should do or whatever. So yeah, on the other side of that, I did want to talk about this too, is if it's there's a way for people to, like, coaches especially, I feel like this is coaches and parents and like adults especially, who like are looking at like their kids who they work with constantly, or just teammates and things like that. Like, yes, we need to be conscious of how we speak to one another, but at the same time, it's kind of like impossible for people to constantly like think about every word they say and how like 15 different people in the room might perceive the thing that they just said. It could be impossible to like get it right every single time. And so I think that there is still a responsibility on each person to have the discipline and like the self-control to, if you do hear something that for your perception and for who you are, it is triggering in that way, or it's causing you to like revert to a dark place, there needs to be some sort of accountability or like discipline there for you to know how to get yourself out of it, or to like not revert back to something negative. So what would be like your advice, or what you have learned for those types of situations?
For me personally, I kind of remind myself that like, if a person is saying something to like a huge group of people, or if they're talking to you and they don't know what you've been through, it's different if you've told the person, this is what triggers me, I prefer if you don't say it. That's different, because if it's something that they can change, then it would be respectful of them to change it. But for me, if the person has no idea, I kind of remind myself, like, I'm the person at eating disorder recovery, not them. I can't blame them for saying something that they have no idea about. And also like knowing, like, that reminder of like, you're in eating disorder recovery. Like, the fact that you're at this place is incredible. Don't let the one thing that someone says bring you back to a place that you never want to be again.
So I wanted to ask, when you're at the gym, is there anything that you kind of do to like prep yourself before you go to the gym, or before you're like getting ready for a workout or whatever? Like, have you in your recovery like found strategies to kind of just set yourself up for success in your thinking before you even get to a gym, or to somewhere that maybe in the past you found it hard to be there?
It has to do with, and I think I can say this for kind of any place that I go that I'm like, oh, I might be triggered, is like strong over skinny. For me personally, because when I see the women on the show, they're super strong, and it's like that's who I'm looking up to. And I think with A&W, it's like, it's great that we have those female role models that are strong and are not presenting something like, I'm just here to be skinny and be a model. Like, you're there to be strong and do a sport, and it's on TV, and like you present yourself in that way. But like saying to yourself that like strong is like what you were saying, like strong is beautiful, and it's almost more important to be strong over being skinny. If being skinny is a negative mentality, it is better to think about it in like the way that you want to be strong, and not to the point where you're like suffering in that thought of I just want to be skinny.
Yeah, that's really important, and I think that's such a great point. Do you find that, because what you just mentioned, like what I'm hearing is you're able to look at those other athletes who you look up to more of like a role model, or more of like an inspiration of like, yeah, this is a good picture of what I want, like not this other place where I was in that I didn't feel healthy, I wasn't healthy, it was a bad place. But are there any other situations where you find like comparison might be problematic, or have you been able to kind of turn comparison into something that's like fueling you in a good way? Or how has the comparison to other athletes been for you?
It's difficult in some ways. It's comparing yourself is always difficult because it's something that I deal with on a day-to-day basis, and like definitely in recovery and in Ninja. In recovery specifically, everyone recovers at different times. I think people who would say, who are in recovery still, because personally I always say recovery, like not recovered, because I think that for a lot of people, it's not something they really ever fully recover from. For some people, they can define themselves as recovered, but for me personally, like, it's not something, I'm definitely not fully recovered. But like comparing yourself and like how long it took a person to get to a place of like good relationship with food, which is in recovery. So like a lot of people would say that I did it like quicker. And for a lot of people, that's like, I want to be like you. I want to be able to do this quick. But then for me, on my side of it, I'm like, did I ever deal with something? Like, was this just my brain tricking me? And like, I'm in recovery, but was I ever dealing with anything? Because apparently I did this quick. And then for another person, it's like, it's taking them so long to recover. And they're like, why am I not recovering yet? Kind of thing. So just kind of knowing that you're on your own path, and however long it takes you to get to the place that you want, either Ninja or recovery or anything in life, basically, that like, don't let other people's paths determine what the path that you're on. And remember that things take time, and it's not the same for everyone. And if you really push yourself and like do the hard things that you don't want to do, you're going to get to that place where you feel like everything has been like worth it in a way.
Yeah, I think that's awesome advice, and it's so true, just everything you explained about like being on your own path, and especially in a place of recovery, like knowing that your situation and what you went through and who you are as a person is going to mean that your recovery path is different than somebody else's. So for anyone out there who's listening, it's like, if you are in a place where you are recovering from something, or just in that struggle of like 1 step forward, 2 steps back, like, am I making progress? Am I not? It's like everyone's path is different. And I so value what you said about just like knowing that it'll be worth it in the end to like take those hard steps of pushing yourself either to find help or to stick to a strategy that you know is actually working for you, or like, you know, putting in the hard work of finding that discipline, finding like just like that humbleness of like, I can't do this on my own, I need help, or I need, you know, a accountability friend who I can really talk to, or whatever it is. I think really knowing like your strategies and what you need, and being willing to like voice what you need to friends or family or a therapist or whoever it is so important.
Definitely.
Do you have any other advice for anybody listening who might be going through something similar, or just any Ninja advice in general?
I think the part of comparison is that, like, again, you are on your own path. Don't compare yourself to others, especially girls comparing themselves to boys. I think that's happened a lot with Junior, having an intermixed and racing boys. I think a lot of us girls, we're like, we get in that place where like, this is my competitor, and then you realize like, no, like, this is my competitor, but they're completely different than I am. And not comparing yourself in that way, especially at the age of like 13, 15. And also with recovery, is that like, it's kind of something I said on the show a lot. I hope I said it in this order. But you're beautiful no matter what size you are. no matter what the mirror tells you, no matter what anyone else tells you, and your worth is not determined by a number on the scale. It never has, and it never will.
Mm-hmm. Well said. Absolutely. One quick thing I wanted to throw in there about, you know, my own personal journey with all of this, because my story is definitely different, but I can remember when I was like, I don't know, in college probably, and was pretty obsessed with like seeing the numbers on the scale going down. And then when I started, even long before Ninja, just when I started strength training, I started to like realize that it felt good being strong. And I started to realize like, okay, I like that I can pick up this like however many gallon, like those giant water bottle cooler gallons that you have to like flip. I remember when like I actually had been strength training and realized that I could flip that over and like put that on myself, because usually like my dad always did that. I remember thinking like, wow, this actually feels really good. But also at the same time realizing like the numbers on the scale were going up because I was gaining muscle mass. But it was that epiphany moment of like, wait, this is a good thing. I don't care if the numbers are like, oh, the numbers are going up. Like, no, like the numbers are going up, which means like I'm getting stronger and I actually feel really good about myself. So I just love that that's part of what you just shared, because it's so true. Like, I don't know why or like how this happens, that it can be so easy to get hung up on like a label or a number or like a certain indicator like that, BMI, like whatever it is. But it's not really about that. It's about like,
exactly.
Are you as a person like healthy? Like your numbers and like, you know, these descriptors or labels can be different from person to person, and you can still be a healthy individual who loves themselves and is like happy with where they're at. So
yeah. It's like your worth is not determined by a number on the scale. It's actually on the back of my shirt. That is like what I did before I ran the course for the first time, is like they had us all do something relating to our ninja name. So I pointed to my back, and then I think that's how they're kind of going to introduce it. But yeah, I loved having that on the back, and it's my quote. So
yeah,
I bet other people have said it before, but having it on my own shirt, it means a lot, because it's something that I remind myself. And I don't weigh myself anymore. The scale is like not a thing, and that's something that some people just have to do. But if I ever do weigh myself, if I'm like at the doctor or whatever, like no matter what that says, it's not going to determine it's not going to contradict my day, which it does for a lot of people. And I have learned to let it not contradict how I feel about myself. Yeah,
no, that's powerful for sure. I just want to encourage again, if anyone is listening to this and they're like having these thoughts like, oh man, like I'm in a place where I am obsessed about my weight, or I am obsessed about whatever it is. Like, it's okay to talk to somebody about it. I'm sure, Emerson, you could speak for yourself, but I'm sure you would love to get DMs from somebody who just needs someone to, like, talk about it.
Exactly.
But I would encourage you to, reach out to somebody, reach out to a coach, whoever it is, a parent, or somebody that you trust that you actually want to express this to, because, you know, the first like step in any sort of recovery or coming to, you know, a better place in your health is just admitting that you need a change, that you need help, that you need something happen. So so that we're gonna end up with the regular parts. I don't know what I'm saying. We're gonna end up with the regular part of our episode today. Moving on is going to be our bonus content. So if you are a Patreon subscriber, you're going to get to indulge in some bonus content with me and Emerson right now. So we're going to say quick goodbye to these listeners. So thank you so much for being on, and thank you so much for sharing your story. I really appreciate just you being open and vulnerable, and it's going to help people. I know that there's going to be emails and DMs coming after this episode of people who were like, I needed to hear that. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, goodbye, and
peace out.
Peace out.
Peace out. Be strong, be you, be a ninja babe.